I decided
On behalf of the Ottawa Memorial Association, I would like to thank everyone for taking time to remember those who have paid the ultimate price of freedom, for freedom. Throughout the history of the United States, men and women have answered the call to arms. They knew the risk, yet they put on the uniform of the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard. Many, from all walks of life, did not come home. It is those loved ones, those who gave their life, that we remember today. Now if you will please rise for the posting of the colors.
Post colors. Our invocation will be given by Bob Couples.
Uncover, Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, who has domination over life and death, grant us the grace to remember with love and reverence our valiant and honored departed comrades. Grant them peace and eternal rest to those who have gone before us, and make us ready for that last hour. Strengthen and console those in sorrow, and bestow upon us the everlasting blessing. Amen.
Please join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lloyd Chapman will sing the national anthem.
And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night, and my flag was still there. Oh, stay us that star-spangled banner yet wave. For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Today, similar events unfold at every location around the world where we have bases. It takes every one of our soldiers to defend the freedom we enjoy. Today is the day we pay tribute to their sacrifice. I would like to offer a special thank you to the following for their participation and continued support of our Memorial Day ceremony. I ask that you please hold your applause until the end. Thank you to our Navy Mother, Michelle Temp, for her participation in the wreath ceremony at the Fox River Bridge. Thank you to Ron Hickey for his words earlier today at the Vietnam Memorial. Thank you to our parade coordinators, Steve Johnson and Rick Grazier. Thank you to Dave Poole, Matt Krug, John Krug, Joe Doherty, and Joe Hughes for sharing their World War II vehicles in the parade today. A thank you to John Kehoe from the Starved Rock Model A Club with his 1930 Tudor Model A Ford. Thank you to John Noble for his 1930A pickup, a USMC vet who is also the same age as his truck. Thank you to Jim Spetz, 1924 Model T Depot hack in the parade today. Thank you to the Ottawa River Rescue for their continuous years of participation in the sinking of the Navy wreath ceremony. They've probably been doing it longer than I've been alive. Thank you to the Ottawa Police and Fire Department, the Nate Plate Fire Department, and the Wallace Fire Department for participating today. Thank you to our Boy Scout troops, 744, for their help today. I want to thank the Ottawa High School and the Shepherd Middle School bands for providing our music today, including our buglers, Emma Stump and Isaac Rowley. I want to thank Ottawa High School Band Director Andrew Jacoby and Shepherd Band Director Mr. Cisnetki. I hope I said that right. If not, you can correct me later. I want to say thank you to Wally and Marilyn Antis, who have provided the public address system today. Thank you. To the following funeral homes for their participation over the past several years. Gladfelter Rodiker Funeral Home, Ottawa Funeral Home, Mueller Funeral Home, thank you. I also want to thank Lloyd Chapman, who has served as our vocalist for so many years that I can't even remember how long. I bet he doesn't even know. He's laughing back there. I would like to thank those who donate their time and efforts to the Ottawa Memorial Association. Your commitment to honoring our veterans is greatly appreciated. I would ask our Ottawa Memorial Association members if you would please stand and be recognized. Because of your support, we can continue our tradition of honoring our servicemen and women. Now I would like to introduce our city officials who are here today. We have Mayor Dan Awesome, Commissioner Marla Pearson, Commissioner Wayne Eichelkraut, Army Airborne, Commissioner J.J. Less, Nate Plate Trustee Betty Fulton-Evans. Our patriotic organizations represented today are American Legion Post 33, Commander Tom Prisbilla. Sons of the American Legion, Art Fulton-Evans. American Legion Amateur Radio Club, Matt Weaver. VFW Post 2470, Commander Jim Murphy Sr., and incoming Commander Mike Glad. AMVETS Post 30, Bob Couple. He's wearing a couple hats today. Marine Corps League Attachment 78 Jonesville, Joe Navarro and Roger Reynolds. American Legion Auxiliary Unit 33, President Jean Burlick. She's also my secretary for the Ottawa Memorial Association. VFW Post 2470, Auxiliary President Gloria Baxter. 82nd Airborne Division Association, John Steele Chapter, Ted McDonald. Sons of the American Legion, Chaplain Bill Toohey, Commander. Daughters of the American Revolution, Linda Poundstone. Ottawa First, James Less. Leading our parade today was Mr. Gene Lee. Gene Lee was married to Annie, who is deceased. They have 5 children, Darcy, Becky, John, Jack, and Craig. Gene served in the United States Army during the Korean War with the 25th Infantry Division and the 27th Wolfhound Regimental Combat Team. Gene would like to come forward and say a few words. Then he says no. See how we are?
Morning, everyone. Glad to see everybody here today. It's a nice crowd. He just introduced me, Gene Lee, lived in Ottawa all my life. Today we're here to honor the dead that died in the military. I'd like to thank Jeannie of the auxiliary here for her and the auxiliary got nominated me to be the parade marshal. And thank Katie for being a president of the Memorial Association for at least 20 years and going. And all the memorial members and all the people that volunteered to help to get this day like it is. I'd like to talk about the home front. Not the one that we all think of as we're sending candy and cookies and stuff to our veterans. I'm talking about the home front, the military home front, and their action during the war or in peacetime. Before I talk, I would like all the veterans in the audience, would you please raise your hand? All the veterans, raise your hand. Thanks a lot for serving, guys. When I go around is the people that supply the equipment and everything to our military. If they fail, the war fails. I was out here at Four Corners a while back with Eureka, Four Corners and Eureka. I was looking through sheds. And there were 2 guys who were taking a break. They were traveling. And he started talking. He says, I see you got a Korean War plate on your car. I said, yes, I do. He said, did you serve there? I said, yes, I did. I said, thank you. I said, well, thank you. And we got talking. And we got the conversation got around to Memorial Day. And one guy says, I never go to none of those events. And he's a veteran. I said, why not? He says, well, I don't feel qualified. What do you mean you're not qualified? You served in the military, didn't you? I said, yeah. I said, well, let me tell you something. If it wasn't for you guys at home, if it wasn't for you people at home with the trouble in the waterfront, you're ready. You're ready when needed. You're protecting our nation. We're on alert. We're sure that we get our ammo, weapons, all the equipment, make sure it's running safe and capable. And it just make sure we get our supplies like food and clothes. Without that, we fail. And I told the guy, hey, I'll tell you what, will you do me a favor? He said, yeah. He said, I said, would you go to Memorial Day activity in your home town today when it comes up? And he says, I'll tell you what, he says, I have a different opinion now. He says, yes, I'll go. I'll be there. That's what thanks. In 1950, the Korean War started. They had very few ammunition and equipment, and they went over to Korea in their summer gear. And I call this the supply chain that brings the stuff to us. We're lacking a lot of winter clothes. So we had soldiers losing their fingers, hands, legs, dying at night in their sleep. And it's uncalled for. The reason why is the weather there was 20 and 30 below day after day in the winter. And frostbite, he thought, was what was freezing the fingers and that. So, in my opinion, it's a case where our supply chain broke down. They didn't do their job. I got orders from Korea. I was 17 years old, and I went home and ate for 10 days. And I was watching a train go by, and our trooper in there, well, what happened there, our National Guard got activated. Some of us elderly out here will remember that. National Guard was right over the west end of the high school. It's tore down now. So it was a case right there where our supply chain was working. Was supposed to do the train. There's exercise and everything. That's in closing, it's an honor that I have to become here. Honor to be the Great Marshal. I want to thank God who loves our troops and our nation. I'll see everybody next year. Thank you.
Jean, I'd like to present you with this certificate of appreciation.
Gotcha.
Thank you for being our parade marshal today. Thank you, Jean. At this time, I would like to introduce our Mayor, Dan Awesome, who would like to give us a few words.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming out today. It certainly is a beautiful day to be out. Every year we look forward to the remembrance of Memorial Day. And let us not forget the true meaning of this day. Thanks, Katie. Memorial Day is set aside to honor all the men and women who gave their lives fighting for our country. Nearly 3 million people fought and died defending our democracy and our freedom. Sadly, our deadliest war was the Civil War. It saw 655,000 deaths of Americans when we fought with ourselves. Let us pray that never happens again. Please take time to visit the memorials in this park, the Vietnam Plaza, the Middle East conflicts, Memorial in Marseilles, and remember that on Memorial Day, a national moment of remembrance takes place at 3 p.m. So please take time today and reflect on those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you, and God bless America.
COVID protocol. Our speaker today will be Mr. Chuck Stanley. Chuck Stanley grew up in the south suburb of Oak Lawn. Nearly every summer included a family trip to Starved Rock and to Ottawa, where family had lived before the Civil War. After high school, he joined the Army and spent 2 years stationed in Germany. After journalism school at Northern Illinois University, he began working as a newspaper reporter. 20 years ago, he took a reporting job at the Times newspaper where he covered local government, learned a lot about local history, and wrote about that as well. Since retiring, he has been active with local and state history organizations. He also serves on the American Legion Honor Guard. Would you please welcome Chuck Stanley, our speaker today.
Hi folks. At the American Legion, we have a project going, a history project. We're trying to identify the veterans and especially the people who have served overseas and who lost their lives. And it turns out that one of the resources we had was brought in by a member of our group, and it was Jay Less, and it was a scrapbook the family member kept during World War II of all the newspaper articles that had run in the Times. We have a project underway to copy those and return the book to Jay. It turns out also that almost an identical project is taking place at the Ottawa Historical and Scouting Museum. And there's Molly Perot who's doing it. She got similar scrapbooks from, someone whose family member kept the exact same kind of documents. So Molly's project is a little more ambitious. She would like to have a file for every veteran from Ottawa. And actually, we met with her and we decided to work on this project together. So one of the messages I have here is for people who have material about a veteran who is in their family and they don't want it to be lost, you can bring it in to us and we'll copy it and we'll keep a permanent file for it. If you have something to donate, we'd be glad to consider that too. Anyways, in the scrapbook, there were so many really wonderful stories that were there. A lot of them were about fellows who went in the military. It was, that they completed training, that they got an award, that some mishap had taken place, or something special. I have stories to share with you, and here's one of my favorites. It's Sergeant Leo Thompson leads Army Band at Hitler Hideout. Sergeant Leo E. Thompson, 808 West Lafayette Street, drum major of the 72nd Anti-Aircraft Artillery Band, led the band at the flag raising ceremony at the Eagle's Nest, Hitler's Hideout, Germany, August 6th. Following the ceremony, which was performed in the presence of many high-ranking American officers, including General Mark Clark, Lieutenant General Keyes, and Brigadier General Tobin, Sergeant Thompson and members of the band received a commendation from General Clark. The Eagle's Nest is now being used as a rest center and sightseeing spot for American soldiers in Europe. And here's one other one. Sergeant Oscar Less attends dinner at the White House. Sergeant Oscar Less, son of Mr. and Mrs. Frank Less, 1206 Chestnut Street, was one of 30 soldiers stationed at Walter Reed General Hospital, Washington, D.C., to attend a duck dinner given by President and Mrs. Harry Truman at the White House. Senators and their wives assisted in the entertaining. Also present were 30 sailors and 30 Marines. Sergeant Less said in a letter to his family that he acquired autographs of President Truman and his wife. The party took place on Thursday, October 4th, starting at 5:30, and activities of the evening concluded about 10. The President gave a short speech at the dinner and also talked individually with the servicemen present. Of course, most of the stories in there, and the really touching ones, were about fellows who got killed. Here's one. Stephen Oley honored at Normandy. A road and recreation hall in France have been named for Technician 5 Stephen Oley, 32, of 1110 Pine Street. He was killed in action in France on June 6, 1944, the day the United States forces and those of the British Empire landed on the beaches of Normandy, France. Oley was killed early in the Great Assault on the French beachhead and is buried in the American Military Cemetery. His parents knew nothing of the details of his death until recently, or that his memory had been honored by naming a road and a recreation hall after him. They have 3 other sons in the service, Corporal Anton Oley, who was in Alaska for 2 years, also Sergeant Martin Oley and Sergeant Peter Oley, both with the Air Force. The details of his death were given in a letter from Lieutenant E.D. Heath. Steve Oley was a member of the same brigade as myself. We came to France on the same ship. He died not 50 feet from where my men and I dug in. That day was far too hectic for anyone to remember many details, but as I can figure, we both came in on the same wave. A road that we took those first few hours off the beach has been named for him. Well, the recreation hall that was named for Oley is long gone, but if you visit Normandy today, that narrow sandy road from the beach still has a sign in his honor. Robert Salita listed killed over Poland. Tech Sergeant Robert L. Salita, 20, U.S. Army Air Corps, reported missing in action over Poland last April, has been listed as killed in action on War Department casualty lists. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Clement Salita of 117 East Marquette Street, were notified today. Sergeant Salita was an aerial gunner on a big bomber, which was lost over Poland. 7 members of the crew were taken prisoner by the Germans. 2 were listed as killed immediately, and Sergeant Salita was reported missing. Sergeant Salita was born in Ottawa on December 20th, 1923, and was a member of St. Columba's Church. Sergeant Salita, during his high school days, was a quarterback on the football team. He entered the Army 3 years ago at the age of 17. He served a year with the U.S. Army in Africa, making more than 50 flights over enemy territory. He returned to the United States for 6 months after completing his missions and returned to his overseas service last February, being stationed in England. Aubrey Baker killed on Luzon Island. Tech Sergeant Aubrey Baker, 24, of Ottawa, was killed in action on Luzon, March 31st. In his last letter, it was received by his relatives. He stated he had been on a patrol in which all but 5 of the 43 members were wiped out by the Japanese. Details of the manner in which Tech Sergeant Aubrey Baker met his death in action on Luzon have been received by his brother, Brian Baker, manager of the Bright Spot Lunchroom on East Norris Drive. This was sent to him from Staff Sergeant Winfield R. Green of Ottawa. Sergeant Baker, Brian Baker, and Sergeant Green left Ottawa together with Company C of the 129th Infantry for Camp Forest, Tennessee in 1941. Brian, who later became a second lieutenant, received an honorable discharge last year as the result of a back injury suffered in an automobile accident. Sergeant Baker, a former farm and Libby Owens Ford employee, and Sergeant Green, a former Republican Times reporter, have been in the Philippines for some time. And while not in the same company, they were in areas fairly close. Late one day, said Sergeant Green in his letter, we came down from a hillside job, and I learned Aubrey had been killed the day before. Details were given by Company C, and I knew they would make you proud of a good brother and always a real soldier, fighting, victory-minded soldier. Aubrey, due to the illness of his lieutenant, was leading his platoon. They drew fire when near a hill crest after working up some 1,500 feet. Aubrey was hit in the legs. At this point, he could have been rolled on his back and been evacuated safely. Instead, he continued to maintain fire control. When he thought the Japs were flanking, he rose to see. It really takes nerve to even rise up enough from prone to fire back as a man must do. But to stand clear up calls for the greatest disregard of personal danger. They hit him fatally as he looked at them. While his original leg wounds must have hurt, the last ones brought no further pain. If a soldier has to die, he wants it quick, like that. Undoubtedly, the continuance of leadership after being wounded would have earned him a medal for bravery under ordinary conditions. I know a medal was mentioned. However, Captain Rex wrote, the company commander was hit fatally the next morning, and the company leadership was changed a couple of times thereafter, so the award may not have been made. At any rate, the medal is only a ribbon and a chunk of metal, and in this case it wasn't needed to prove it was a real man who had died. And this story involves 3 fellows from Ottawa. Major Pritchard, PFC Snyder, reported dead. Prisoners of war on a Japanese ship from which Lieutenant Petrich fled. Word has been received today of the deaths in December 1944 aboard a Japanese ship bound to Japan from the Philippines of Major Lawrence F. Pritchard, 34, son of Mr. and Mrs. Fred Pritchard, and Marine PFC Robert C. Snyder, 25. Both were aboard the U.S. prisoner jammed Jap vessel, which was sunk by American bombers. The situation was the Americans didn't know that the ship was full of American prisoners. Lieutenant George K. Petritz, U.S. Navy, an employee of the J.E. Porter Corporation in Ottawa before entering service, also was aboard the ship. He survived the assault, escaped to the Philippine shore, and later made his way back to the United States. He since has visited in Ottawa. Petritz said he and another American, an Army enlisted man, were the only ones who, having survived the sinking 100 yards offshore, were able to make their escape. Japanese guards fired at them in the water in an apparent effort to hurry them to shore, where practically all survivors were rounded up anew. The Major was born and reared in Ottawa, and following his graduation from Ottawa High School, entered West Point Military Academy. He had seen 3 years of duty overseas when captured. Snyder who would have been 26 on August 14th, enlisted in the Marines in 1940, and 7 weeks later he went overseas. He was in Shanghai for about a year and a half before going to the Philippines, where he arrived 5 days before the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Later, the Leatherneck was taken prisoner and was assigned to the prison camp in which Lieutenant Petrus was held. His parents received several notes from him on prisoner of war cards. Mr. and Mrs. Snyder received the following message from the Navy Department Saturday night. Deeply regret to inform you that the delayed information has reached this headquarters that your son, PFC Robert C. Snyder, U.S. Marine Corps, lost his life December 31st, 1944, when the ship on which he was being removed from the Philippines to Japan was sunk. He is carried on the roll of the Marine Corps as having been killed in action in the performance of his duty and service to his country. And he went to Marquette University in Milwaukee, and then he came to Ottawa to work for the J.E. Porter Company. He boarded with a family on Paul Street, about a block and a half from here. In October 1941, he received a commission in the Navy and was sent to the Philippines to command a patrol boat. After the war started, he was awarded a Navy Cross, which is second only to the Medal of Honor, for directing anti-aircraft fire against Japanese attack planes. He was captured and spent 2 years as a prisoner of war. After his escape from the prisoner transport ship, locals guided him back to the U.S. fleet. Well, he didn't die in the war, so just a little bit more about him. After the war, Petrus met a Northwestern University graduate student, fell in love, got married, and moved to her hometown in northern Michigan near Traverse City. There they went into the frozen cherry pie business. His wife baked them and he sold them from a pickup truck with a refrigerated box. The business expanded and eventually was purchased by the Petville Company, and they marketed the pie crust as Pet Ritz Pie Crust. Some of you may remember seeing those for sale. Their next venture was to develop a small ski resort, which was renamed Crystal Mountain, expanded, and today has more than 600 employees. Petrus had 6 children. He retired in 2000 at the age of 83. He died at age 93, and he was surrounded by his family and friends. Now, the point about bringing up Mr. Petrus is that he got to live his life. He got to enjoy it. He survived the war, unlike all these other fellas that I mentioned before who gave up their lives for our country. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck. We will now hear from our Americanism essay contest sponsored by the American Legion Auxiliary. This year's topic is patriotism, how we are more alike than different. Our first place winner from Shepherd Middle School is Zuli Moreland. Zuli's also in the band. Come on up, Zuli.
It is known worldwide that everyone is not the same. Everyone is different, and we all have our own aspects that make us unique. However, our differences do not tear us apart. Rather, our differing aspects are what bring us together as a whole. Knowing that everyone is not the same, the citizens of the United States include all, only growing the bond of the nation. While every country has its own core values, the values that make up America also make up its citizens. Due to this, American citizens are more alike than different. Defining freedom accurately may be an everlasting obstacle. Freedom is a right, an unalienable right, that is, which is difficult to express or put into words. Despite this, freedom is a major factor that brings individuals together. It is the backbone of the United States. Citizens of the United States thrive off of their privileges, from the ability to speak what has been bubbling within, to the right to believe any religion without being condemned. Individuals from America are able to efficiently collaborate and exchange ideas. They can agree on what they agree on and disagree on what they disagree on. But that is okay, because they will accept it. Americans have the freedom to construct their own opinions. Whether they realize it or not, American citizens take advantage of the freedom every day. As stated by writingourfuture.org, these values are so important that no one can really live and thrive without them. The shared value, the one granted to the people by the First Amendment and by birthright, is a value that's found deep within one's core and is the value that brings each individual together as a whole. Likewise to freedom, love is a value that is often brought up in America. There are many different types of love, whether it is a passionate love or mutual love, a love for a person, or love for a sport. Nevertheless, every American shares something that they love, America. Again, whether we realize it or not, American citizens love their differences, their rights, and their red, white, and blue flag that represents their love for their country. From one's birth, the goal of our Creator, God, has been to learn to love. Just as writingourfuture.org explains, we share these values since America's founding, and this doesn't mean that these values are always there for everyone. In this country, citizens are enabled to enjoy the everyday activities that they have been gifted with, enjoy them with others. We are privileged to have loved ones, or individuals who are willing to provide aid and care. American citizens have love and belief for humanity that is engraved in their hearts just by being an American. Throughout the country of America, diversity exists everywhere. These differences, though, only strengthen us as a nation. What allows these distinctions to act efficiently are love and freedom that flourish on the inside, or our core values. And, as the years progress, the United States of America is only growing tighter and tighter as a nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Zuli. Each year, we identify those veterans who have gone before us by placing a flag upon their grave. We would like to recognize those who take their time to honor our departed veterans. At Ottawa Avenue Cemetery, Mr. Craig Rick. At Calvary, Mr. Ed Beazle. At Oakwood Memorial, Rick Olson, sons and grandsons. At St. Columba, Ryan Brooks. At the Ottawa Jewish Cemetery, Mr. and Mrs. Boyd Palmer and Rick Olson. At Summit View, John Wilson and Scout Troop 45. And in Grand Ridge at St. Andrew's Cemetery, Dorothy Thomas. The Veterans Necrology Report will be given today by Mike and Martha Harden. Each year we must say goodbye to those individuals who served our country. This year, the following veterans departed this earth and entered eternity. If Mike and Martha would please come forward and do our necrology report.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you could stand, please stand. All gentlemen, please remove your hats. James H. Bailu. Dwayne Ashton. Gerald Pogrinski, Jerry Bottoms, William Boyd, Kenneth W. Brown, William Buckingham, John Budak, Thomas O. Camp, Charles Correll, Thomas T. Cisneros, Thomas Truskowski, Philip Claus, John F. Cook, John Corcoran, William Dent, John H. Dixon, Ellen Donovan, Arthur Duffield, Samuel Dwyer, David W. Edmond, Joseph J. Ernest Jr., Gary Pyle, James Fitzgerald, Roger Freeze, Robert Gill, Jeffrey Getch, Lawrence W. Graham, William Grovey, George Hanselman, Leslie Hogus, James Jansen, Maurice Johnson, Robert Kruger, Donald Ledbetter, Theodore Lennick, Donald Link, Lawrence Marta, George Mason, James E. McCarran, Elizabeth A. McDonald, Robert D. Muller, Robert Pazinska, Wesley Pender, Raymond D. Poling, Terry Reynolds, John Rao, Fred Gugera, Hubert Schaefer, Claire Serby, Stanley Slavinsky, Edgar G. Smith, Robert Shmuskovich, Leland Saul, Richard Taylor, John J. Thompson, Richard Thorson, Gary Tufke, Thomas Underhill, Paul Ziegler, ladies and gentlemen, as a final note when the bugle fades into the heavens here today, let us never forget the sacrifices that have been made for all of us from all the comrades listed here today. Thank you.
Memorial Day is the day we remember the cost of war. We place a wreath upon this memorial. The wreath, being a circle, is a symbol of eternity. Just as our fallen soldiers, sailors, airmen, paratroopers have entered their eternal rest, let this wreath be an eternal reminder of their sacrifice for our freedom. In honor of those who gave their life, Mike and Martha Harden from the American Legion Post 33 will place a wreath at the foot of the memorial. Please bring that one forward. Helen Walker and Chrissy Holstart from the VFW Post 2470 Auxiliary will place a wreath at the foot of this memorial. Two Boy Scouts from Troop 744, Colin Osliski and Tucker Ditchfield, will present a wreath for AMVETS Post 30. I'm going to pause a moment and ask Joe Navarro to come forward.
Thank you, Katie. In 1989, I was asked to speak at the Spring Valley Veterans Memorial, and I spoke to the young people, and I read a poem that I'm going to ask my granddaughter, to come up and read it for you now. I think the words are very telling. It's Lily Nanowski.
This is Come Visit My Grave by Commander Jim Rolls. I am a veteran laid under the sod. I'm in good company. I'm up here with God. Come to my grave and visit me. I gave my life so you could be free. Today is Memorial Day throughout this great land. There's avenue of flags, parades, and bands. I can hear music, the firing squad, and taps. Here come my comrades, the Legionnaires, the Blue Caps. One of them just put a flag upon my stone. Someday he'll have one by his own. They say they have plans, other things to do. Don't put us aside as you would an old shoe. Come visit my grave, this cemetery so clean. This is what Memorial Day means. There are many of us lying in weightless sleep, in cemeteries of green and oceans of deep. It is sad that for many who fought so brave, now no one comes to visit their grave. They died so you could have one whole year free. Now, can't you save this one day for me? There are soldiers, sailors, airmen up here who went into battle despite of their fear. I've been talking up here to all of those men. If they had to do it over, they'd do it again. Look, someone is coming to my grave. It's my family. For them, my life I gave. My wife, I remember our last embrace. As I left, the tears streamed on your face. I think you knew the day I shipped out, I wouldn't return, your life to be turned about. There's my daughter that I used to hold. Can it be you're nearly 20 years old? Next month is to be our wedding day, your wedding day. I wish I could be there to give you away. My son's here too, Dad's little man. Always love your country. Do for it what you can. There is one thing that really did bother, seeing you grow up without the aid of a father. I wish you all could hear me from up above, that a father's best gift is to give his children love. Is that a man lay down his life for his... Oh, and what better way to prove my love to the end is that a man lay down his life for his friends. I see it's time for you to go home. Your visit made it easier to remain here alone. Don't cry, honey. You look so sad. Our children are free. You should be so glad. Daughter, thanks for the bouquet so cute. Thank you, son, for the sharp salute. Come again. I forgot. You can't hear me from up here, but I know you'll come visit me next year. I hope all veterans are treated this way on this day to remember, Memorial Day. Thank you.
And now, we will ask the following groups that wish to honor our veterans to bring forth a loose bouquet. Shepherd Middle School. They're in water, you just gotta take one out. There's two in there, there's several. There you go, we got it. Tegan Cole, would you please bring that forward? It's tough to be the first one to do it. It's all good. Right up there by the wreaths. Just point the flowers out. Thank you. Thank you, Tegan. Jefferson School. Colin Heimer, Joey Armstrong, and Quinn Hart. Boys, you can go back and get one each. There's plenty. It's all good. It's all good. This is how we learn to honor those who have given us freedom. We've got plenty of time to do that. Thank you, gentlemen. From Central School, Brennan Heber. Thank you, Brennan. From Lincoln School, Lily Nesty and Trip Newman. Oh, wrong school. Lincoln School, Ella Walker and Quinn Walker. Read the wrong line. Thank you, ladies. Now McKinley School, Lily Nesty and Trip Newman. We're running out of room, aren't we? Good job. Good job. I'll ask Mr. Lloyd Chapman to come forward and perform God Bless America.
Please join with me. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, white with gold. America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
For the record, I was lip syncing. On behalf of the Ottawa Memorial Association, I thank you for joining us today to pay tribute to our fallen men and women of the United States military. Please join us for refreshments which will be served at the American Legion Hall across the street, which have been provided by the Ottawa Memorial Association with assistance from the American Legion Unit 33, with assistance from the auxiliary of the American Legion Unit 33 and the VFW Post 2470. Thank you again for attending. I'd like to